George Floyd versus Charlie Kirk, the weaponization of race. Why is George Floyd treated like a saint, while Charlie Kirk is called the villain? Let's talk about race, victimhood, and a truth nobody wants to say out loud. Race as a weapon. Race today isn't just history. It's been weaponized, a social orchestration to divide people by skin color instead of ability or character. Thinkers like Frantz Fanon and Thomas Sowell warned about this. They argued that racial obsession benefits elites, not ordinary people. And today, if you question that narrative, especially if you're white, you're instantly branded a racist. Not for hate, not for prejudice, but simply for refusing to play the victimhood game. Victimhood culture. Nobody denies that Black Americans suffered through slavery and discrimination. That history is real, but here's the problem. The endless glorification of victimhood doesn't heal wounds, it keeps them open. Look at Donald Trump. He tried to remove symbols tied to slavery, yet who called him racist? Black activists themselves. That shows how grievance has become an identity, a badge of honor, a permanent excuse. Self-pity has become currency, and America is paying the price. George Floyd narrative. Now enter George Floyd. Yes, he was killed by a white cop. Yes, his death sparked global outrage. But let's look deeper. Toxicology reports showed drugs in his system. His record? Home invasion, pointing a gun at a pregnant woman's stomach. Drugs, theft, violence. Yet overnight, he was turned into a martyr. The media painted him as the face of justice. Statues were built, murals painted, streets renamed. But ask yourself, was George Floyd really a hero? Or was his death simply useful? Useful to activists, useful to politicians, useful to corporations cashing in on social justice, branding. The truth? He was weaponized, not because of his life, but because his death fit the script. Charlie Kirk contrasts. Now let's flip the script. Charlie Kirk, no criminal record, founder of Turning Point USA. A man who debates professors, activists, and college radicals. His message? Work hard, take responsibility, don't let race define you. But more than that, Kirk stands for Christian values. He preaches love, excellence, and respect for life. A vision rooted in faith, not victimhood. And what happens? He gets labeled a racist. Why? Because he refuses to bow down to grievance culture. Kirk even called out the media blackout around Iryna Zabruska, a young Ukrainian refugee stabbed to death on a train in Charlotte, North Carolina. According to witnesses and circulating videos, she was singled out as the only white passenger. But her story? Ignored. No protests, no murals, no global hashtags. Why? Because her death couldn't be weaponized. Because victimhood today isn't about humanity, it's about profitability, political correctness. So let's ask again. Why is George Floyd worshipped while Charlie Kirk is demonized? The answer is obvious. Narratives sell. Truth doesn't. The hypocrisy of racial sensationalism. This imbalance shows how far racial sensationalism has gone. We don't measure people by their actions anymore. We measure them by how useful their story is to the media. Think about it. Other nations have suffered unspeakable horrors and moved forward. Japan was reduced to ashes after Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They rebuilt into an economic superpower. China endured the nightmare of Mao Zedong's Great Leap Forward, which killed tens of millions. Yet they rebuilt and became a global force. Europe, invaded by Ottomans, crushed by Genghis Khan, colonized, conquered, burned to the ground. But today, they've moved on. No endless reparations, no permanent guilt, no glorification of victimhood. So why is America stuck? Why is Black America told to relive slavery and racism every single day? History lesson and the bigger truth. Here's the reality nobody wants to say. Slavery wasn't white history. It was human history. Africans enslaved Africans. Arabs ran slave markets for centuries. Asians conquered Asians. Every empire on earth spilled blood. The only difference is that the West actually abolished it, and now gets punished forever for it. Meanwhile, everyone else walks free of guilt. This suicidal empathy, white societies apologizing, handing out reparations, and begging for forgiveness, is madness. If anything should be returned, it's the stolen artifacts. But cash reparations? Never. The closer. It's high time we ended the cult of victimhood. Stop glorifying criminals. Stop vilifying responsibility. Stop making history a permanent excuse for some, and eternal guilt for others. If Japan could rise again, if China could rebuild, if Europe could survive centuries of conquest, then Black America can move forward too. Right finger, but it won't happen until we stop worshipping false martyrs, ghetto culture and start celebrating those who choose responsibility, discipline, faith, and progress. That's the real conversation, and the sooner we have it, the better. Kindly like, share and comment to have more contents like this. Worldview by Charles, Power, History and Truth.